I'm an elderly person, and I've had an operation on my left knee. If I'm asked to give out and do one of those tests to see if I'm drunk and staggering, I'm not sure that I can walk a straight line. Is there something I can do to refuse that gently and say, take a blood test or give me a breathalyzer, but can I refuse just to try to do the walking and thing?
Great question, Lester. Do you want me to take that,
out.
Lance? All right. Great question, Lester. Absolutely. There is no law that requires you to do a field sobriety evaluation. Now, that being said, we are lucky to live in an area where we not only have very good prosecutors, as I mentioned earlier, but also law enforcement officers. They're well trained in this situation, and the first thing that they should ask before even requesting you to do a field sobriety evaluation is whether you suffer from any health issues. And that would be the time when you would tell that officer basically what your issues are. They do not have to make you do the 9-step walk and turn or stand on one leg for 30 seconds. There are alternative testing that can be done on the scene as a field sobriety evaluation. And you don't have to do any field sobriety evaluations at all. Unlike the breath, blood, or urine sample request, if you refuse to give a field sobriety evaluation, you're not going to have your driver's license suspended, because that's not something that you automatically consented to at the time of getting a driver's license. So, excellent question, Lester. Hopefully you don't drink and drive and you never get to that step. But if you ever do, just let the officer know up front you have certain health issues. There are a number of tests out there. I won't waste time on the show going through all of them, but you're welcome to call the law call phone number again, or stay on the line, or call my office and we can chat. They'll work with you. If you have a health issue, be sure you say it on the scene. The worst thing you can do is do these field sobriety evaluations, look horrible falling over, and then all of a sudden when it's trial time, say you had all these health problems. It's going to be very obvious, not necessarily in your case, but in most people, that you're saying it to get out of a DUI. And now you're paying expert witnesses possibly hundreds or thousands of dollars to come testify to what medical conditions you have. That's more so in personal injury cases than in our neck of the woods. But just tell the officer up front. And yes, they could have you take a breath, blood, or urine sample, but that's one of those things you'll want to evaluate based on what we discussed earlier in the show. So great question.
That is a very great question.
And did I understand you to say earlier in the show that my understanding is most of the time the field sobriety tests are recorded? They have both the audio and the video footage of the field sobriety test. So if he says that on the scene, then it's already going to be, it's already going to be in the record, so to speak. So if that's played at trial, it'll be right there in front of the jury already. You telling the officer, hey, I can't do this because I've got a disability.
Absolutely.
So I think it really undermines the whole field sobriety test if you've already put that on the record, and then the officer still forces you to go through with that testing.
Excellent point, Lance. And one thing I've noticed is body cameras. People talk about body cameras all the time. I actually once saw a DUI arrest where the officer used the body camera for the field sobriety evaluation. That's a no-no. You never want to do that, because every time the police officer moves his or her body, the camera is shaking. It's tough to get a good view of what's stable in the background. Is it the defendant weaving? Is it the police officer walking and weaving? So as much technology as we have for field sobriety evaluations, the best thing is still, I hate to say old-fashioned because I've been in Florida since '05 when I came down here, but having the old camera on the dash of the car that is steady, that's still going to be the best, because at least it's not moving. If you see swaying, you know it's the defendant and not the individual. My goodness, back in '05, a lot of police departments didn't have cameras. Or the VCR tape would run out. I mean, it's hard to believe.